Hi there, I'm Joey.
I'm Jacob.
And we are watching Star Trek for the first time. Last time on Star Trek, we never mentioned Mr. Logan. I just realized that now.
Yeah, we didn't mention Mr. Logan.
We recorded that episode, and we didn't mention the bitch fight between him and Geordi that I thought was really, really funny. Yeah. Mr. Logan was an interesting character. We just totally neglected to mention it all last video. And also we're recording this directly after the last video, so it is what it is. Today we're watching an episode called Symbiosis. Symbiosis. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Again, I know I mentioned it before, but I find TNG titles a lot harder to just have fun and theorize about than like TOS or TAS titles.
I mean, nothing will ever beat for
the world is hollow and I have touched the sky. Yeah.
At least we could speculate on.
I mean, none of them are really, what yonder soul doth go hence a brother. It's not. But anyway, I guess we'll find out. We're going to get into post-episode thoughts in a second. Be sure to join us then. We're about to watch Symbiosis. Drugs are bad, okay? So Star Trek does drugs bad. I think Star Trek has done drugs bad before, right? I want to say. I think. I want to say it's happened before, but I can't think of a
specific episode or anything.
I can't think of the exact instance, but I feel like they've done it before. But this is definitely like the late '80s Star Trek version of drugs are bad. Okay, First off, gotta talk about Merrick Butrick, David Kirk himself, who's here as a different character, of course, is T'Jon, who I actually took the time to look into as we were watching the episode, and just found myself incredibly sad at that man's life story, and just fascinated by him as a person. Just really cool that he's here. So first off, I did really love the way this title fed into the episode, likening the addiction to a drug as a symbiotic relationship, and in a user's like codependence on it, which I found really interesting. I thought that was really interesting. I feel like we're going to spend most of this video talking about the ending, because the ending was kind of the thing that we actually talked for a solid minute or two before we actually recorded about. Picard ends the episode by saying, let them continue to be addicted and let them withdraw themselves eventually, and it'll work out, because Prime Directive. We've gotten many of those in the past on Star Trek, because Prime Directive can absolve any sort of moral quandary that a Starfleet captain faces, I suppose.
Unless you're Kirk, then you constantly break the Prime Directive.
Oh, that's true. But Kirk also had his fair few, we can't do this because Prime Directive moments. But of course, they're usually pretty selective about it. Here, that we do actually get the clarification that I don't think we had ever really established before, that the Prime Directive specifically refers to lesser evolved civilizations. Because I had always read the way that Kirk talked about the Prime Directive as, don't interfere whatsoever. But Picard specifically says, like, oh yeah, these guys are, they haven't even found themselves as a civilization yet. They haven't done anything yet. We can't interfere with that.
They barely established space travel in 200 years of development.
Yeah. And so Beverly Crusher sort of opposes this idea, and I found myself agreeing with her. Just the idea that we can lessen their suffering. Instead of just letting their drug supply eventually sort of run out and let them withdraw from there, when it will be much more painful and horrible for them. We could have put a stop to that right there and then, and that's where Picard sort of gets his whole Prime Directive speech. And I found that an interesting sort of moral quandary, but also something that I found myself directly opposed with Picard on.
It's a hands-tied best solution problem.
I suppose.
Because how the episode, where the episode ends is that what are they called? The other planet? The or something? Or name? No, the people who are supplying the drug.
Oh, I forget.
Okay, so, people who are supplying the drug, they've long realized the cure for this epidemic was a narcotic, but they never told the other planet, so they would just be constant customers, essentially. Constantly buying more and more and more. And
which is also I also must say has this great sort of capitalistic commentary on it, which I really enjoyed as well. But sorry, go on.
And they've realized that the longer every party's on the Enterprise, the sooner the people on the planet might realize they don't need it to survive anymore.
Yeah.
So they say, oh, they can have it. We'll work out a payment later, because of course they will. Mm-hmm. And that's when Picard is like, all right, that solves that part of the problem. They have now taken that part out of my hand, Prime Directively, in a Prime Directive sense.
Yeah.
Right? But now Picard knows the planet has 2 working ships that gets the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't work very well. So by depriving them of their Tesla coil thingies that power the ships, it will eventually not be able to get the drug somehow. Like, however they were getting it, it's just not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
So, in a hands-tied situation, that is the best outcome Picard could have asked for, because it is not his issue at that point.
Yeah. But again, I do totally sympathize with Crusher's point of view. That, like, yeah, we could have put a stop to that there and then. Yeah, you know, such as, you know, I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, Picard views it as an imperfect solution, but it is a solution in his mind. And also, I think, also goes to show how Picard, I think, and this is something I know I've commented on before, something that I'd like to see a lot more from Starfleet captains like Kirk and Picard that we've seen so far. How devoted they are to Starfleet's mission, and how much the Prime Directive actually means to them. Like, how strictly do they follow it? So I don't know. I think from what I've observed so far, I think Picard is kind of a bit more slavish to Starfleet's ways.
He holds to it more closely than Kirk ever did.
Yeah, he's much more devoted to it, and that's something I'll be really curious to see developed on more in the future. That'd be really cool. But yeah, that was mostly just to talk about the ending. The rest of it was just a fine enough episode. We did have some fun at the start when they were first communicating with the freighter, and the guys were all like, "What? Well, man," and like we started saying earlier on, like, "Oh, what are they on drugs?" And I guess they literally were. So
they also did call the story would be about a planet on withdrawal.
Yeah, and so we had this, and now we have 4 episodes left in the season. Absolutely insane. Yeah, you know what's also kind of insane that I'm realizing is that we've only had one of my friend John's top 3 season 1 episodes show up so far, and so that means we have 2 left with 4 episodes left in the season. So they're definitely in there somewhere. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see where they end up. But all that said, I think that about does it. So thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to join us next time when we continue Star Trek The Next Generation. Until then, this has been Joey Morgan.
I'm Jacob.
Goodbye.